In 1945, when Germany lost World War II and the Allies invaded the country, the Russians came in from the east and kept the eastern part of Germany for themselves. The other Allies, like the United States and England, wanted to keep the other part of Germany free. So for many years, Germany was divided into two countries, East and West Germany. At the time, the Russians' country, also called the Soviet Union, was communist and very aggressive. They wanted the German people to be under their control, so they did many things to not let them be free. But they started to notice that the East German people didn't like this, so they started leaving their part of the country. The Soviet Union didn't like this either because many of their hard workers and smart workers were leaving. The next thing they did changed Germany for many years. The Russians started to build a wall. At first, they just told people they couldn't leave Germany. Then pretty soon, the wall grew taller and taller, with more fences and more guards to keep the German people in. Before long, they were not able to leave. In some cases, they had family members or friends on the other side of the wall, but no matter what they tried, they could not move across Germany to see them. The wall was made up of barbed wire and thick cinder blocks. It became known as the Berlin Wall. Along the Berlin Wall were watchtowers, guns, and bombs in the ground to keep people from crossing. This was a very sad time for the people in East Germany and those in West Germany who had friends and family on the other side of the wall. The main part of this wall was in Berlin, the capital of Germany, and was 28 miles and extended through Berlin, 75 miles up into the rest of Germany. During this time, the United States and its allies were in what was called the Cold War, with countries such as Russia, also known as the Soviet Union. The Cold War meant that usually there were no battles going on. That would be a heated or hot war. But this war was cold because the two countries were enemies, but usually just did things like spy on each other and try to be more powerful or have more weapons than the other. During this time, the United States and Soviet Union made more and more nuclear weapons, which were large bombs which could be very harmful to large groups of people. Both countries had many spies in each other's countries, trying to figure out what the other country would do next. The United States and the Soviet Union, or Russia, were very different, mostly because of their governments. The United States was a democracy where people were free and voted for their leaders, who represented the people. They also had choices over things like what they could do for work and what they could buy, while Russia was communist. Communism means the government decides how much everyone makes and what most people do for a job, and they also don't let the people vote or say what they believe and what they want. The Cold War went on for many years, and during this time Germany was still split in two, one side free and one side controlled by the Soviet Union. During this time, some people were able to escape East Germany and cross the Berlin Wall without being caught. They think around 5,000 people were able to do this, which seems like a big number, but it was over 30 years, and there were a lot of people in East Germany, so really not that many were able to make it across. But Germans were very creative in the ways they found to get across the wall. For example, in 1963, an acrobat named Horst Klein saw cable going from one side of the wall to the other and decided to climb across it. The cable was 60 feet in the air, and he climbed across it hand over hand and over the heads of the guards far below. When he got to the other side, he fell to the ground and was okay, but he was free and made a very daring escape indeed. In 1983, two friends decided to do something similar as Horst Klein, but instead created a zip line from one side of the wall to the other. They did this by climbing to the top of a tall building and firing an arrow over the wall to someone waiting on the other side. The other person reeled the line across and a cable, which they attached to a chimney on the other side. Then Michael and Holger, the two friends, zipped across and over the wall using pulleys. Pretty amazing, right? Two other friends, Hans and Gunter, came up with the idea to make their own hot air balloon. They built it in secret out of old bed sheets and canvas, which their wives sewed. Then at night, the two couples and their 4 children floated the hot air balloon 8,000 feet in the air and sailed over the Berlin Wall to freedom. In 1962, an 81-year-old man and a group of senior citizens, or older people, spent 16 days building a 160-foot-long tunnel under the wall. Many of the people who escaped were guards, because even the German guards didn't want to be forced to stay in East Germany. There were many guards who were able to easily escape because they were wearing uniforms. Many people around the world, including the United States, were against the wall and challenged the East German leaders to take it down. President John F. Kennedy made a famous speech in West Germany telling them to take down the wall. Later, President Ronald Reagan did the same. Popular rock stars often held concerts near the wall to entertain the East German people. In 1989, many countries across Europe who were communist wanted to become democracies where the people had more freedoms. At this time, people in Germany also wanted to be done with communism and become free. On November 9th, 1989, in East Berlin, huge crowds of people began gathering at the wall. The guards were worried, but no one told them to hurt the crowds. Eventually, the crowd just started breaking down the wall, chopping holes in it, until finally the guards started letting the people through. Crowds on the free side also gathered to welcome their fellow Germans. There was celebration and hugging as the German people were reunited. Friends and families were able to see each other again. People all around the world were happy for the German people who were no longer divided. Today, all of Germany is now a free country and a democracy. You can still visit a portion of the Berlin Wall that is still standing, but now it's just a place that tourists can visit to be reminded that once Germany was divided. Tonight, spend a few minutes thinking about what it would be like to live in a place with less freedoms. And then think about how fortunate you are to live in a free country where you can think what you want to think, believe what you want to believe, and more freedoms to do what you want to do in life. Not all people have these same privileges. Freedom is something that has to be fought for and appreciated, or it can go away like anything else. It's important to understand history so you can know what you need to do to keep your own country a free place, and learn from the mistakes of the past so we don't repeat them.